the Iceman.
He was found in a glacier. He's the oldest human specimen we have that is so complete.
He's so well preserved.
He may well be the most studied human being in history.
A frozen body trapped beneath Alpine ice. An arrow buried deep in his back. Blood on his weapons that belonged to other people. For more than 5,000 years, the world's oldest natural mummy guarded secrets that seemed impossible to solve. Scientists believed they understood who he was and how he died. Then a new DNA analysis overturned decades of research, revealing that nearly everything we thought we knew about Ötzi the Iceman was wrong. His true story is even more astonishing than the legend. DNA rewrites everything. For more than 30 years, museums, documentaries, and history books presented the same image of Ötzi the Iceman. He was portrayed as a fair-skinned man with thick brown hair and a full beard, based largely on a DNA study published in 2012. Researchers also believed he carried ancestry from the steppe populations that spread across Europe during the Bronze Age, fitting neatly into the accepted story of European prehistory. But there was one major problem. When Ötzi was discovered in 1991, no one realized the body was more than 5,300 years old. Before archaeologists could properly secure the site, rescuers, police officers, photographers, and bystanders handled the mummy, leaving behind modern DNA contamination. Although the original researchers acknowledged this issue, the technology available at the time could not completely separate ancient DNA from modern genetic traces. Everything changed in 2023. Scientists used advanced sequencing techniques to analyze DNA taken from deep inside Ötzi's pelvic bone, one of the least contaminated parts of the skeleton. The results completely transformed his story. Instead of having light skin, Ötzi possessed the darkest skin pigmentation yet identified in a European from his time. His dark complexion was natural, not simply the result of thousands of years of mummification. The DNA also revealed that he carried strong genetic markers for male pattern baldness, meaning he had likely lost much of his hair by the time he died. Even more surprising, researchers found virtually no steppe ancestry. Instead, his genome traced almost entirely to Anatolian Neolithic farmers who had migrated into Europe thousands of years earlier. Rather than representing Europe's emerging populations, Ötzi was one of the last survivors of a much older genetic lineage, forcing scientists to rethink a key chapter of prehistoric European history. The discovery that shocked the world. In September 1991, two German hikers crossing the Ötztal Alps made what they believed was the tragic discovery of a recently deceased mountaineer. At an altitude of more than 3,000 meters, they noticed a human body protruding from melting glacier ice and immediately contacted local authorities. Because fatal climbing accidents occasionally occurred in the region, rescue teams assumed they were dealing with the body of a modern victim. Instead, they had unknowingly stumbled upon one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. The frozen body was firmly trapped inside centuries of solid ice, making the recovery both difficult and delicate. Unaware of the body's true significance, workers used jackhammers and heavy equipment to free the remains, accidentally damaging parts of the skeleton, clothing, and valuable artifacts. It was only after radiocarbon dating that the astonishing truth emerged. The man had not died recently. He had perished more than 5,300 years ago during Europe's Copper Age. The discovery immediately attracted worldwide attention. Archaeologists, historians, and forensic experts rushed to examine the remarkably preserved mummy. Before researchers could begin their detailed investigation, however, Austria and Italy entered a dispute over ownership. Although the body was initially believed to have been found in Austria, a later border survey revealed that the discovery site lay 92 meters inside Italian territory. Today, Ötzi is carefully preserved in a climate-controlled chamber at the South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology in Bolzano. where thousands of visitors view him each year. The glacier had preserved an extraordinary amount of evidence. Researchers examined his skin, internal organs, clothing, weapons, and even the contents of his stomach. They discovered he wore expertly tailored garments made from deer, goat, and bear hides, insulated shoes packed with dried grass, and a woven grass cloak that protected him from the harsh alpine climate. His most valuable possession was a finely crafted copper axe, a rare object during the Copper Age that suggested he was a person of considerable status rather than an ordinary shepherd or hunter. Further examination revealed remarkable details about Ötzi's final days. His stomach contained ibex meat, red deer, einkorn wheat, and traces of fern, proving he had eaten only hours before his death. More than 60 tattoos marked his joints, knees, ankles, and lower back, and their placement closely matched acupuncture points, suggesting they were used to relieve chronic pain caused by arthritis rather than for decoration. For decades, museums portrayed Ötzi as a fair-skinned man with thick brown hair and a full beard. However, the physical evidence told a far more violent story. A flint arrowhead remained embedded beneath his left shoulder blade, while a deep wound on his right hand indicated he had recently fought in close combat. Blood from several other individuals found on his knife and clothing showed he had survived a deadly confrontation before fleeing into the mountains. Decades later, advanced DNA research would reveal that scientists had misunderstood not only his death, but also his true appearance and ancestry. The killing mystery, hidden in the ice. From the very beginning, investigators knew that Ötzi the Iceman had not died of natural causes. A flint arrowhead lodged beneath his left shoulder blade revealed that he had been shot from behind. Early forensic examinations concluded that the arrow had pierced a major artery, causing him to bleed to death within minutes. For decades, this explanation became the accepted account of his final moments. However, several clues suggested the story was far more complicated. A deep cut between Ötzi's thumb and index finger had already begun healing before he died, indicating it had been inflicted several hours or even a full day earlier. The injury closely resembled a defensive wound, typically sustained when someone grabs an opponent's blade during close combat, suggesting he had recently survived a violent struggle. Even more remarkable was the evidence found on his belongings. Advanced DNA testing identified blood from at least 4 other individuals on his knife and clothing. 3 separate blood samples appeared on his flint knife, while another was found on his cloak. None of the blood belonged to Ötzi, proving he had fought multiple people shortly before his death. Whether it was a raid, a territorial conflict, or a personal dispute remains unknown, but it is clear he escaped the initial confrontation alive. His equipment supports that conclusion. Although he carried a bow, it was unfinished, and only 2 arrows in his quiver were ready for use, suggesting he fled before fully preparing for another fight. Researchers believe he crossed the high Alpine passes in an attempt to escape his attackers, only to be pursued. At some point, while resting or moving through the mountains, an unseen assailant fired a single arrow into his back. For more than 30 years, this reconstruction was accepted as fact. But advances in forensic science would later reveal that Ötzi's final hours, and even the way he died, were far more complex and tragic than anyone had imagined, solving a 5,000-year-old crime. While DNA research completely transformed scientists' understanding of who Ötzi was, advances in forensic science also rewrote the story of his final hours. In 2025, researchers revisited his CT scans using modern 3-dimensional imaging technology that was unavailable when the mummy was first examined. Their analysis challenged one of the oldest assumptions surrounding his death. For decades, experts believed the arrow lodged beneath Ötzi's left shoulder had killed him almost instantly by severing a major artery. However, the new scans revealed a large hematoma, or collection of clotted blood, around the wound. Such a clot could only have formed if his heart continued beating after the arrow struck. Rather than dying within minutes, Ötzi survived long enough to struggle for his life. This also explains why only the flint arrowhead remained inside his body. Researchers believe he managed to pull the wooden shaft from his back while still alive, possibly stumbling or crawling across the Rocky Mountain Pass before finally collapsing. Microscopic pollen revealed that Ötzi died in late spring, not autumn as once believed, and his body remained exposed for months before winter ice preserved it. Investigators also concluded he was shot from behind, likely during a personal conflict rather than a robbery, leaving his 5,000-year-old death an enduring mystery. Ötzi the Iceman reminds us that history is never truly finished. If you enjoyed this journey into one of history's greatest mysteries, don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible stories from the ancient world.